There's a lot of people right now feeling the way I'm feeling, throwing their hands in the air about this government shutdown. It is hitting Americans hard. It is now the longest in U.S. history, especially hitting people hard when it comes to their SNAP benefits.
Yes, we're talking millions of families that are left facing food instability and left facing, honestly, impossible to answer questions, especially their little kids having to go through all of this as well.
So we're bringing in someone that can help us navigate the difficult conversations, as you always do, ABC parenting expert Bethany Braun-Silva. Thank you for being here. This is one of those tough topics where parents probably don't want to tell their kids too much and panic them, stress out kids that don't really understand the situation. But so many people, so many of these kids are probably hearing about the government shutdown, the lack of food stamps. What do parents need to know about what the kids need to know and how to process it?
You know, Danny, you said it. A lot of kids are hearing what's going on, even if they don't exactly know what SNAP is. They are sensing some sort of disruption. Maybe it looks different where you're getting your food. Meal times look a little bit different. So parents are going to want to approach it with a calm and steady tone. If you don't want to be, extremely proactive about it and let your kids come to you, that's fine too. But the key here is to reassure them that everything is okay, that they will have everything that they need, and how you decide to approach it is really up to you, and based on what you're noticing with your child. You're going to keep conversations honest but age appropriate here.
Yeah, age appropriate, because I think as someone in my lifetime, my family, we received SNAP benefits at one point. I never knew that we did until I was later older, because my mother made sure we always had food and did whatever she had to do to make sure we were good. But one thing, she never scared me. She never said, hey, just so you know, we're in this situation or something. Why does a parent even want to have that conversation with their kid to make them possibly start to feel insecure?
Right. So why you would want to have this conversation is because they are noticing it, they are aware, and it can create a silent anxiety, right? If they're having, questions that they might have are unanswered. I always tell parents, you don't really want to brush off a question, even with well-meaning intention, saying, you're fine, you don't need to know about this. You want to take their concerns seriously, because it can spiral into anxiety. And actually, I spoke to Diego Alonso. He's the Senior Manager for Storytelling and Cultural Strategy Communications at No Kid Hungry. And if you do want to, and he explained a really great analogy to explain this sort of government shutdown. Imagine you're at the playground and you can't decide on what to play, so everything has to stop, right? Until you make the decision. And one of the things that stopped were these benefits, these SNAP benefits, this money that helps, millions of families, helps them get their food. Yeah. So that's a really great way to, sort of bring it down. And one more thing I want to point out here for teens and tweens who might know a little bit more on social media, they might have a tendency to internalize it or blame themselves, hoard food or restrict food to give it to a little sibling. What we want to do here is really focus the emotional load on the adults, as hard as it is, and not on the kids. Continue to reassure them.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience, you shared a personal story, but I went to school with a lot of kids who had food insecurity. They had free lunch, and I didn't. And I remember going home to my mom, asking her about it. So that is real, that we are, children do really notice this. Yeah. And you don't want those other kids to feel shame. So what is a parent really to do as they navigate this?
Yeah, and again, another anti-hunger activist that I talked to said that shame is actually one of the biggest blockers for parents and families getting the help that they so desperately need. So how we can sort of destigmatize shame is by talking about it openly with our kids. If we're whispering about food banks, if we're whispering about our concerns, then they're going to see that as something to potentially be embarrassed about, which we don't want. These community and nationwide supports are there for a reason. We can frame it as they're there as it is normal, and they're there because we care about each other as a country, right? We're there because people need it. You can check out your schools, Feeding America. There's so many people have been mobilized in this moment.
So, one way we can exemplify that shame, you don't need to feel it, is by not being afraid to ask for help as a parent. So if a parent does need help navigating this, where can they turn right now?
211 is a great place. You can call or text 211.org. It will get you right away to local food support. Of course, Feeding America, City Harvest, No Kid Hungry. These are all organizations that are mobilizing fast. And of course, you can donate if you have the means.
Yeah, this is such a sensitive, delicate topic, but I love how you held our hands through this, and I really hope that our viewers took something from this if you're going through
also
this.
Reinforces the idea why school lunches are so important, and kids should have access
they
to
rely on that free lunch program.
I've always found that the situations that make us feel the most alone and isolated are actually feelings that so many people are feeling. And this is
You're
one of
not
those
alone.
situations in which millions of families
So
are
true.
experiencing this. And it's important to remember that you're not
Bethany
alone.
Braun-Silva,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you as always.